Hello, and welcome to OMNI Vision, formerly titled OMNI Month in Review. This is our first episode, and today we're going to be talking about drug policy reform and activism, as well as climate change activism and climate change in general. And today with me I have four excellent guests, local activists. To my right is Rob Fonts. He's the director for the UA Campus Safer Initiative. And also to my right is Ryan Denham, and he's the regional director for One Sky of Arkansas, and he's also the former director of the successful lower priority initiatives in Eureka Springs and Fayetteville. On my left here is Jacob Holloway. He is the president of Normal UA, and he's also a student in agriculture economics. Also on my left is Ryan Boswell, and he's the director of Clean Air Arkansas, and he's a chemistry student at the U of A. Our first topic today is drug policy reform and the drug war generally. And as some of my panelists are directors of drug policy reform groups, why don't you guys tell me a little bit about what your campaigns are and sort of what the status is, beginning with you, Rob.
Okay, let's see. I first started with, let's start with SAFER, which is I'm the campaign director for here at the U of A. And SAFER is an acronym for Safer Alternative for Enjoyable Recreation. And it's an idea that Mason Tvert, who co-authored this book, Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink? And he came here to speak about this book a few weeks ago, but I first met him, back in March of this year. We went to a normal conference in Columbia, Missouri, where marijuana is decriminalized at that location. And he encouraged us to start a SAFER initiative at our university to try to promote change and to also address the very simple concern that marijuana is safer physiologically and sociologically. Physiologically being that to the user, primarily for toxicity, for such things like the Center for Disease Control has it as alcohol as the third leading preventable cause of death in the U.S., and it contributes to over 30,000 deaths in the U.S. not involving traffic fatalities. And the AMA has similar claims and fines as well. And the National Institute of Drug Abuse states that marijuana is less addictive and less intoxicating than alcohol. And so we started taking this to the University of Arkansas to try to address this and make the penalties for marijuana to be no greater than that of alcohol. I think a story that was recently published in the Traveler was addressed like a new online study that came out on the neurotoxicology and teratology that was actually Jacob was interviewed recently on, and but they were addressing a lot of other interesting things. But yeah, and then it's sociologically safer for the fact that it's better for society and it's not as dangerous. And this is very pertinent to our campus in general because like the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse shows that 95% of all violent crimes on campus and 90% of all college rapes on campus involve alcohol. And the Harvard School of Public Health has also had similar findings. But this is, I mean, it's very dangerous that our university has policies that encourage alcohol use by having less penalties for it than they do for marijuana. And we're trying to address that and change those policies. And yeah, so we did that this last semester.
So you successfully passed the referendum
at
at the U of A?
Yeah, through Mason Tvert and his direction, as well as Ryan's direction here.
Right, Ryan helped out with that. So what percentage of the university?
It was 66% of the student body voted. Even though there was a glitch in the system and 13% of the students couldn't even vote that day, we still overwhelmingly passed that.
And you guys, after this passed, you're trying to follow up with that to try to get the university to...
We're going to be working with the Razorcat board, which are some of the head administrators on campus, to actually changing the existing campus alcohol and drug policy.
And are they pretty open to change? Or?
Well, I think at first they were a little resistant, but now as time has gone on, I think, and they've kind of seen our perspective a little bit and seen that we have support through the students here on campus, that they may be a lot more open. And I think we had a meeting with them, and I think we definitely swayed their opinion very much, a meeting that me, Ryan, and Jacob all participated in. And so, yeah, it looks very encouraging. I think we'll be able to change the policy here, and at least submit a proposal here in the next few months after we get together a task force, and then probably by next semester we'll have a response as to what they intend to do.
Yeah, it seems like it's a serious issue on campuses in terms of, I mean, if a student gets in trouble with marijuana possession, I mean, they can lose all their financial aid, isn't that right? Or?
Yes, that is correct. That's with the Higher Education Act, but recently, I don't know if any of y'all had heard about this one yet, but they, I guess this past Thursday, the House of Representatives voted on Bill H.R. 3221, the Student Aid and Fiscal Responsibility Act, and it's repealing the I guess you losing your funding based on just mere possession, and now it's being only addressed to those convicted of drug sales. So we're slowly diluting these.
It's getting a little bit better.
It's getting a little bit better, but it's still not enough.
Right. Okay. All right. Do you have anything to add, Jacob? Or?
Yeah, well, on the House bill that just passed, we were working on that in Washington, D.C. Last year I was doing an internship with SSDP on drug policy reform. That was actually one of the main reasons SSDP was established, because what the problem was is college students were losing financial aid after the Higher Education Act, and so it grew into a much larger movement, actually ending the whole drug war. But I think we're seeing a trend here now, especially here in Northwest Arkansas and Fayetteville, where we're passing these measures in Fayetteville and on campus. And Fayetteville passed the lower priority measure, 67% of the vote.
You worked on that campaign,
yes,
Ryan?
I was a field organizer for that campaign. And I think what you're seeing here with the drug policy reform movement, and especially the marijuana legalization reform movement, is that this has been a totally grassroots issue. All grassroots activists, and there's been no major centralized power that's been really coming out for drug policy reform. So I think what it's showing is we're actually winning in the eyes of the public. I think the general mood of the country is now on our side of the issues, because we've really won the debate already on the facts and issues about what the drug war has done to our society, to America. Drugs are more prevalent and more easy access because of prohibition. And I think most Americans understand now something has to be done about drug policy reform, and the war on drugs failed as a policy.
Wasn't there a recent poll that said that a majority of Americans support serious, potentially changing the marijuana laws? Was it a majority of Americans?
No, we had a Zogby poll done here in Arkansas, and what was it, 54% supported decriminalization here?
No, it was more like 62%.
62%?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And there's been national polls that indicate, upwards of 70% of Americans support decriminalization, even higher for medical marijuana, 80+%. But recently there's been new polls for legalization of marijuana.
Right.
And in California, they finally had a majority poll that showed like 50-odd%.
Even Arnold, the Republican, said that potentially we should start talking about potentially legalizing and taxing, because California is facing, I think it was a $25 billion budget deficit, and they're saying that you could raise at least $5 billion in tax revenue.
And that's very conservative.
That's a small tax. You could have a really large tax. So.
And Abel, I'll tell you this, I think it's really going to come out of, the movement's really going to come out of California. Well, I think California will be the first state to legalize or lead the way to legalizing marijuana.
Well, they can't really legalize as long as the national.
Well,
government.
I think what you're going to see is a state government really put the United States in somewhat of a constitutional crisis, especially if President Obama is going to stick by his word and allow states to make their own policies about marijuana laws now. And if the DEA isn't going to intercede in California policy, then I think you're going to have a situation where there's going to be a lot of pressure put on the Congress to actually change the national laws. And I think as California goes the way of legalization, I think the rest of the nation will follow.
Well, and California is one of a dozen states that have. How many states is it that have medical marijuana and decriminalized?
I believe it's 12 states are decriminalized and 13 have medical marijuana.
So it's a good proportion of the states.
Absolutely.